Hey, welcome back to another Valley Forged. It has been a minute, I know. I took a long 3-month vacation, which was paid for by my laser business. So I am here to help you do the same or whatever you want to do when it comes to lasers. And before I left, since I was coming to this big, amazing shop, I donated to friends and people that needed it. All of the laser stuff that I had starting fresh. And what came out since I left? The AtomStack Kraft. So, as many of you know, I don't just do any old lasers these days. I'm very picky. I only work with a few companies that I actually trust and want you to take a look at. AtomStack is one of those. In fact, you could check out my video, Should You Buy AtomStack? I have 3 Should You Buy videos. So if you're wondering what lasers that I'm into, links for everything will be in the description. Both the laser, AtomStack Kraft, my laser ready files, everything, just check down there. But let's get into the AtomStack Kraft. Man, the first thing I thought when I got the AtomStack Kraft was, wow, how far lasers have come since just a few years ago when I started this channel. And, everything was a process. Just hooking it up to Lightburn was a process, everything. And now you just open the box, you set it on top of something very sturdy. That's a pretty serious machine there. And pretty much you take the packaging apart, you put the module in, plug it all in, and you're ready to go. And that's kind of like, wow, it's so amazing. And it's already got the honeycomb bed, it's already got the enclosure, all these things that you just don't have to deal with anymore. And just so you can see it, here is the AtomStack Kraft that I'm currently showing you. Of course, I said link below. Open this up so you can kind of go over it with me. So when I say something, you're like, oh, okay, here's where it says it can do that or whatnot. And if you have a question, the basic things like what's the working area or, just simple things that I don't need to explain to you that you could just see in one page, there it is. So let's get back to it. And for literally, such a great price compared to what all of that stuff together would cost. And now with the AtomStack Kraft, it has an IR module built in. And in the past, I have told people, I probably wouldn't get the IR module. I have never reviewed one on this channel just because I just didn't think it was worth it. Because you either had to take the old module out, you had to put another one in, and it was just this. I just didn't figure people would really use that. And if they really wanted to use an IR most of the time, get a dedicated machine for that because it's just going to be so much better at doing that. And it was a huge extra expense. Sometimes it's like $600-700 for an IR module that you might as well put that money into a dedicated machine that's going to be way more powerful and do a much better job on metal. For those of you that don't really get what I'm talking about when it comes to IR. Infrared, it's just a different wavelength than your typical diode laser. A diode laser is really good at organic materials, so it's really going to do well on wood and leather and things like that. But if you want to engrave on metal, you still can, but it's not going to really show up as well, which I'm going to show you in this video. And there are some definite reasons that the IR module or a fiber laser or a dedicated machine is just going to do a much better job. So, but the fact is you're kind of getting the IR for free in the Kraft because it's already such a low price for what you're getting. I know it's not cheap, but considering what you're getting compared to what you used to get for this price, it's unreal. And the fact that you could just push a button and switch, or you can use them both. I'm going to get into all of that here. And if you can't tell, I'm really enjoying the Kraft. I really loved how easy it was to set up. And then I do my typical test right away. And, you know, I don't know, you could see this, but I'll put it up in a picture. You could see this is right out of the box, and the circles are good. You know, they look like circles. A lot of times, if the belts aren't right, you're going to get some ovals and things like that. The fact that I didn't have to do anything, I mean, a lot of lasers, you have to put the belts on yourself. And this is all done. Everything looked good. It cut out. This is, of course, 1/8 inch, which this is a 20-watt laser. So I'm going to say 1/8 inch is your, you know, main thing you're working with. In many cases, it's better to glue two 1/8 inch things together than it is to just use a 1/4 inch. But I will get to, it did a really good job on the 1/4 inch. Really surprised. The nice thing about this is you can use, I guess I got to say like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. If you learn anything here, you know, give me some love here. I make hundreds of videos on how to do stuff with lasers, what's the best laser, etc. And I'm definitely going to be doing more videos on the Kraft and showing you a lot more, but I'm going to show you a lot today. So this is the diode and the IR. And when it came to doing wood, I didn't notice a heck of a lot of difference other than you can get, here you can see, this is true 6mm or 1/4 inch. And I just did all of these circles. I think doing those little squares a lot of times doesn't really show you what I want to know. And you can see I wrote on there, I tried to do it with just the diode laser and then the diode plus IR just to see, you know, are you able to cut a little bit more if you use them both at the same time, which no other laser, I don't think there's any other laser on the market currently that you can use the IR and the diode together. And what you can see is right here at the end, these circles, right, these four, this was just diode, and this is diode plus the IR. So there is, you can see this is just right about to snap out. And these are actually the same exact. That's why I did two circles, because sometimes, you know, differences in the wood area and things like that will make it slightly different. Or even maybe, yeah. Regardless, you can see it pops out, but there's a little bit of thing there. But the main thing that I was trying to do, I mean, this is 450 millimeters per minute with 2 passes. So on most 20-watt lasers, I have to do 300 millimeters per minute in 2 passes. So it's like way, way better, especially with the IR. Now, when it was just the diode, it wouldn't quite do it. You see, that's almost, this one won't come out at all. If I pushed really hard, I could get these out. So you can see it's just a slight bit better. You know, if it's like almost working perfectly and then you just needed that extra little boost, doing the IR and the diode together for wood is a little helpful. But I wouldn't think that you're going to get an extra 5 watts or whatever. Don't think that. It's just barely better. It was just one of the main questions I had when I was looking at the reviews for the Kraft, and so I wanted to bring that on to you guys. Don't expect much difference. The other question that I had immediately was, are they going to bring one out with more power? If you buy the 20 watt and you find later, hey, you know, I want a 40 watt, is that going to be available? And I checked with AtomStack. They said they are working on it now, and that they would let me know immediately when it was able to be released. So I will, of course, let you know. But at least you realize that, hey, if you get a 20-watt machine at an insanely amazing price, in my opinion, to have all of this technology, and I can't show you all of the technology in this one video. It would just take too long. But just one of the main things I'll tell you is it just feels like the future when it comes to lasers so much, you know, compared to all the other lasers that I've tried out. And many of you know, I have this thing about the fan turning off when you're not using the laser. Because like right now, that laser is on. Can you hear it? Nothing. That makes a big difference to me. I want to know not only Do I want it quiet when I'm not using the laser so I don't have to go in and turn it on and turn it off when I'm not using it? Because I use it on and off throughout the day. I may make a video, I may want to go do that. You know, it's just a peace of mind kind of thing. I like it. But it also lets you know when a job is done. That's kind of nice too. And the thing is it turns the fan on for a couple of seconds before it starts, and then it leaves the fan on a little bit after, so it cools it down. And I think that's one of the things that was missing from a lot of the lasers that did that, right? If the laser's super hot, you don't want the fan to turn off immediately. So that's what I'm saying. It just feels like the future. And if you see the layout of the where the switches are, where the plugins are, everything is just right there. It's just so easy. And so everything is well thought out. It just makes sense. Now, I have a couple of negative things to say. I always do. I gotta, I'm going to find something I don't like about a laser, and I will go over that as well. But I got to say, very, very impressed with the Kraft. Much more impressed, even after watching all the reviews, I'm actually way more impressed than I thought that I would be. I'm pretty hard on laser companies. I think you guys know that. In fact, even AtomStack, I've been extremely hard on them before. But they have come a long, long ways. This is not the AtomStack of 2 years ago, 3 years ago, not even close. I mean, one crazy thing I wanted to mention is just and I'll show it to you, the little air compressor that it comes with, the air assist, the knob on that. Small thing, ridiculous, but it feels like an audio file, like you get a home receiver. It's just so smooth. I've never had that with a laser before, that it just felt like, wow, this is professional. And I almost wanted to turn it up to 11. Some of you get it, some of you don't. But it has all of the things, the drag chain, everything is set up for easy use, that you figure this is going to last a very long time, be very easy to just run a small business on, which is what I do, right? So let's, before I get into the few things I don't like about this, let me show you some results. I already showed you the results of, cutting out 1/4 inch, which is doing just fine. And I showed you the circles, but I also wanted to show you, this is something that I make all of the time. In fact, I sold out this past Christmas, which is my bottle openers, right? You make 2 of these, and then you glue them onto the 6-inch steel, and they're freaking amazing. People absolutely love them. And there's a bunch of different designs that I have linked below, of course. And I wanted to try it just with the diode and with the IR as well. And I really didn't see any difference. So on the wood, it's just a little bit deeper. This is the IR and diode. And this is just the diode. Honestly, I can't really tell the difference. This one might be a little bit deeper just because it has the extra power. But so for wood and engraving, so far I can't tell the difference. They both cut out about the same, whatever. IR, when it comes to wood, like I said, isn't making a huge difference. So what about metal? And I'm sure a lot of people are watching this for the metal. I could do all the wood, I could do the leather, I could do everything. What does it do? Why get the IR? And so here I will show you pictures of different things, but explaining it to you while I'm doing that. The first thing that I did is I tried to do the diode only on these stainless steel, different colors that I got. And what I noticed right away is if I wanted to get a good marking on it, I had to crank it up so high that it would start bending. It would overheat. And obviously that's really bad because you can't just bend it back into place. It leaves kinks. It looks bad. So I kept trying to lower the speed and power. But the problem is that you get it to where it doesn't really leave a good mark. So there's not a lot of contrast on these because they're not anodized, which I will do the anodized and show you. There is a huge difference when I jumped over to the IR. I could set it to put it to a setting that wouldn't bend it, and they look so good. It looks so good. I can't even tell you. So I did it both with a line on the outside ones and just the Valley Forged is engraved, and then I did an engraving of those outside lines and the Valley Forged. And I kind of like that the best, but I wanted to try different things. A line after engrave and all, some advanced stuff that I just wanted to check out. I think it looks brilliant. Of course I showed off to my mom because that's what we do, right? And so then now I can see that there's an actual use for me to have the IR. I wouldn't want to have to buy a whole new machine if I was only going to do that once in a while. And you could set up a whole jig if you wanted to do, 50 of these and you just wanted to do that over and over. You hit the machine, you let it do its thing, and you're done. Next thing I did is I wanted to try the anodized cards, and I ran into the same problem. With the diode laser, even though it will do it, and it looks good. It looks really good because all you're doing is removing the anodized part of it. It looks really good, and it's silver, though. But that can look really cool, too. It just, it looks like the stainless steel behind the anodized. It looks good. But the problem was I could never, and maybe some other people have settings they could get this right, but these are really thin aluminum cards that I was sent to from some laser company. And I could not get it to work without bending the aluminum or whatever these cards are made out of. Whatever it is that they just wouldn't, I couldn't do it without bending the cards. With the IR, I could, and so there's your big benefit. Not only that, it makes a white color instead of a silver, and it looks really beautiful. In fact, I'll show you the card here. If you look at this, it looks like I did need to run it just a little bit hotter, but I kind of love it this way because it just looks so vintage looking. It really gives it a cool look compared to just etching off the black. So, I can see where that would really come in handy. I just never really did metal stuff because, I didn't want to go through the trouble of getting an IR. I just didn't believe in it. I don't want to tell you guys about it. I don't want to use it. So I can see that just having it. And so when something comes along, say you're making a plaque or something out of wood using the diode, now you can actually make a little name tag at the bottom that you can use the IR for, and you can use the same machine, and you don't have to have something else dedicated, because they're expensive. You want a good machine just to do that sort of thing. It's between $2,000 and $4,000. It's more than this machine just for doing that, but it will be a better purchase, in my opinion, if that's all you're doing, because it will do it so fast. And this is going to take some time, kind of like engraving wood. So as you can tell, I'm just giving it to you straight the way that I see it. I put this thing up, I started using it. These are the things that I did, and this is the results that I got. I'm going to make some projects with this Kraft within the next, in fact, I may do a plaque. I may do exactly what I told you. I think that's a great idea for this thing. I have some other things that my brother was talking to me about, and he's like, hey, he came back from Italy and he showed me these things, and he was like, hey, what about this? Maybe I'll make that. And we'll see what the Kraft does when you make actual projects. Of course, I've been doing this long enough. I kind of know what's going to happen, but I would love to show you all. The negative parts. What is the negative parts? I do have a few. And I think, I tell people all the time, when somebody says something like negative about a laser, listen, pay attention, think, hey, is this something that is going to impact me? The first thing I already talked about a little bit, I'm running a laser business. Speed, power, getting it done, super, super important for me. So although you can do 2 passes and do all of the same things, the speed is very important to me because I'm maybe trying to make a bulk order for something that's a rush or whatnot. A 40-watt laser definitely would, or even 30, would be a huge improvement for me because you can do 1/4 inch in 1 pass pretty consistently, no matter what kind of wood, even if I'm using walnut or something like that. I told you before, they are working on that. So if I bought this, I know that I would be able to upgrade it to get the 40-watt if I needed it. But that's the first thing I thought of. And hopefully that will be out at some point soon. You can't see through the front. So even if you look at here, I'm looking at the actual AtomStack Kraft page here in, on the web. And if you look at it, you can see it here. I'll put up a picture. The front is kind of, I can't see what's actually going on from this level, right? In some other lasers, you're able to do that. And I really like that ability because when I'm sitting here and I just want to turn around and see what's going on, that I would like that. At this point, I need to kind of look up or use a camera or something like that. The stepper motors are a little bit noisy. They make a, I'll hopefully be able to put up something for that. It's not loud or anything, but hey, why? Everything else about it is so like next level awesome. Like, what's up with that? The hinges, Clack talked about this. Actually, it was Venturi who talked about this. The hinges, they were great. There is nothing wrong with the hinges. They're just, I think, having like, I don't know, hood style, or I forgot what those are called. The shock absorber type, I think, is probably more professional than the ones that they put in. This holds it up really, really, really well, which is of course important. But when you close it back down, it has some pressure that wants to push it back down, which in some ways it's good because it's going to make sure that those switches that are on both sides to make sure that you don't run the laser when the thing is up. I can see that being super helpful. But I just kind of like the old school, just, kind of thing. Also something either Clack or Venturi mentioned was the fact that the honeycomb bed is movable. I can see why they did that because, some people use rotaries and you have to undo the thing so that you can have the rotary come through the bottom and all that. I don't use rotaries at all. So that isn't a concern of mine. So I like it. There are very few companies that make the honeycomb bed or tray or whatever stationary to where you always know where it is. So you can count on if you put a piece of wood in this part of the honeycomb bed, that's where it's going to be. That's where it's going to line up every time. So I will personally do that on my machine. I will fix it so that it's always in the same exact spot. So maybe I would suggest doing the same if you're going to get one and you don't use a rotary. So if you want to know more about the rotary for the Kraft, don't ask me because I won't be using one. I've used one rotary in my entire life and, it just seemed like a pain in the butt to me. In fact, I think this is a great idea for a company to make a dedicated rotary machine. So that a little laser will tell you what the circumference is, so you don't got to measure and all. Maybe it already exists, but they've made every other kind of thing in these companies. Maybe AtomStack will do that. A dedicated rotary setup that never has to change. But I digress. Let's get on with it. That was actually the end of my negatives. I absolutely love it. I love how easy it is to go from IR to diode to both. I think that's just really cool. I love the way the module works. I have not been impressed with a lot of the upgrades that people have done with modules. Even though they look really cool, they don't seem to be any better than the last batch, where this one is really, really feels like it's the future. It's better. The setup of everything just seems better. Another thing I would say is the fan. It worked fine. The fan that sucks out all of the smoke. But I personally like it a little bit bigger. Like I said, it worked. But the second thing that I did with mine is I took that little tiny fan out, and because I have my own dedicated fan and it really sucks. So, why wouldn't I want to use that one? So I think I have talked long enough about the Kraft to give you a great initial impression from me. I've been working with this thing for the past week and really enjoying it. And I'm so happy to be back. So happy to be making stuff with lasers. So anyway, we'll get on to more of this soon, and I will see you all in the next one. Love y'all.